All right, we are continuing Jacob. We're actually in Jacob part 2. And this, actually, we're going to chapter 27 of Genesis. Chapter 25 has dealt with Jacob and Esau being born and the struggle that happened in their bodies. And then it ended with Esau giving up his birthright, selling his birthright to Jacob. Genesis 26, Jacob and Esau aren't in it. It's just things that his dad did and things that happened and that. So we're going to pick back up again in 27, which is where we get back to Esau and Jacob. And this is actually the blessing. And again, it's another story we all know, and hopefully we'll just get a little different light on it. I spent probably 3 hours over a few days trying to find where this blessing comes from. This thing where the patriarch of the family speaks, this isn't laying on of hands yet, speaks to the blessing over the eldest son, and all the promises, all the not just the worldly goods, but the promises that God has placed on their father also gets passed down to the son, to the heir. And I was trying to find that tradition where it comes from. Everything I looked at went into the laying on of hands. And we're not talking about the laying on of hands. We're talking about imparting verbally a blessing on someone that, what we will find out, sticks. Whether it's on the right person or not, that blessing sticks. And it's not like we're sitting around the Christmas tree and I give you a present and I give you a present and you open them and I go, oh, wait a minute, this is yours and this is yours. It's done. And he even Israel even says, it's done. I can't take it back. It's done. So let's start at 26. Isaac, there we go, also called Israel. 27:1, Genesis 27. When Isaac had grown old and his eyesight was failing, he summoned his older son Esau and said to him, "My son?" Question mark, because he's asking who it is. "My son?" And Esau said, "I'm here." He said, "I'm old and don't know when I will die, so now take your hunting gear, your bow, and your quiver of arrows. Go out to the field and hunt game for me. Make me the delicious food that I love and bring it to me so I can eat it. Then I can bless you before I die." Remember back in 25, the reason Isaac loved Esau was he was a hunter and he loved the food that he made. So this is what he's saying: go make me, it's not his last meal, but go make me what I love best about what you do. Make me that venison a la gratin or whatever that you make. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. And when Esau went out to the field to hunt game to bring back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I just heard your father saying to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and make me some delicious food so I can eat, and I will bless you in the Lord's presence before I die.'" Okay, we're going to stop right there for a second, because we learned Rebekah means ensnarer. Ensnarer. Means ensnarer. One who ensnares in a trap. Now, I've got to give some background on there we go. I've got to give some background on this. It does not say this in here, So I'm not going to go with it, but I'm going to tell you what people have heard and what people think happens here. And I don't see it in the Bible because it's not in the Bible. Jewish tradition, passed down, says that Esau stayed home and during their life, and Jacob went and studied at a school and he was the more religious one, he was the more attuned with God one, and Esau kind of didn't really care. He didn't study, he didn't this, he didn't that. That is Jewish tradition, passed down. According to this, I don't see that. And so what they say is that is why Rebekah stepped into this role and made him, Jacob, the one who needs this blessing, because Jacob is more in tune with God than Esau was, and Jacob's more ready to do it in this. It's not that. It's really simple, because it says in here, Jacob was Rebekah's favorite, and Esau was Isaac's favorite, and Isaac sold the birthright. Esau sold the birthright. Rebekah was there. She overheard it, so she knew what was happening. So Rebekah is just watching out for her boy, her favorite. That's what's happening here. So, as we read this, Jacob's almost a little hesitant. And Rebekah says, son, listen to me. Listen to what I'm telling you to do. Go to the flock and get 2 healthy young goats so I can prepare them as a delicious food your father loves. You can bring it to your father. He will eat, and then he will bless you before he dies. Jacob's already going, well, wait a minute. Jacob said to his mother Rebekah, my brother Esau is a hairy man, but I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me and thinks I'm making fun of him? I will be cursed instead of blessed. Mom's got this all figured out. The mom says, your curse will be on me, my son. Just listen to me. Go and get them for me. So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made the delicious food that his father loved. Goat and deer are 2 completely different things. I don't know how she did that, but that's beside the point. She made a meal that was going to fool Isaac. Rebekah took her older son Esau's favorite clothes that were in the house with her, and she put them on her younger son Jacob. On his arms and smooth neck she put the hide of young goats, and the delicious food and the bread she had made she put into her son's hands. Jacob went to his father and said, my father. Here we're going to get to where Jacob stops being Jacob and becomes someone else. I'm not saying he's not Jacob. I'm not saying he doesn't go by the name Jacob. I'm saying this is who Jacob was, and now he starts to become not Jacob anymore, and he starts to become this liar, this person that trips. His name we said was real close to Rebekah's. It means like a root that comes up and grabs you and trips you. So he is going to usurp Esau's authority through this. Jacob says to his father, Israel said, he's also called Israel. Isaac says, who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I'm Esau, your oldest son. I've made what you've asked me to. Sit up and eat some of the game so you can bless me. Isaac said to his son, how could you find this so quickly? Isaac's on it here. He said, the Lord your God led me right to it. That's a big lie. That's a huge lie. Oh, God showed me right where it was. Isaac said to Jacob, remember through this, Isaac isn't sure about this at all. I don't know how Jacob imitated Esau's voice. Because Isaac wasn't deaf, he was blind. Or blind.
There's a scripture that says the voice, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Down the line.
The voice says.
The voice is.
Yeah, he says. Yep, we're getting there. Actually, it's coming up real soon. No, you're fine. 21. Isaac said to Jacob, "Come here and let me touch you, my son. Are you my son Esau or not?" So Jacob approached his father Isaac, and Isaac touched him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the arms are Esau's arms." Isaac didn't recognize him because his arms were hairy like Esau's arms, so he blessed him. Again, "Are you really my son Esau?" And Jacob says, "I am." Isaac said, "Bring me some food here and let me eat some of my son's game so I can bless you." Again, I see Isaac as he's just not, okay, you don't sound like him, you say you are, you feel like him. Now let me eat the food. See if the food is the food that you make for me. Jacob put it before him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said to him, "Come here and kiss me, son." Isaac still isn't sure. Come here. Come here. Get close. Get close. So he came close and kissed him. And when Isaac smelled the scent of his clothes, he blessed him. Rebekah had this down. You've got to smell like him. You got to feel like him. You got to make the food that he makes. Then he's going to believe who you are. Now, we in our modern days wash our clothes a lot. Back then, they had a couple outfits, and they wore them all the time. So when this said it smelled like Esau, it smelled like Esau. It had the field on it. It had his sweat on it. So it's not just like, oh, come here, let me smell the new Tide that's on your clothes. This is, let me smell your stink almost. So I'm gonna stop for just a second here and go through some other little things. Okay. When I was studying this, I found a guy. I finally found a person who was talking about this, and it was a sermon by Professor Finney. It was done on May 13th of 1846. That's how far I had to go to find something on this birthright. So we don't need to go to these scriptures. I just want to bring them out, because the promise, what he was talking about here, is how it's also the promises that God gives to the Father that gets passed on, not just the inheritance. So in Genesis 15:7, this is where he says to Abraham, "I am the Lord who brought you out of the Ur of Chaldees to give you this land as a possession." And that's where Abraham says, "How do I know I'll possess it?" And God tells him to make the sacrifice, and he comes through and he blesses him, and that's how he knows. So Abram passed it on to Isaac, this promise. Isaac is now going to pass it on to Jacob, and Jacob actually passes it on to Joseph's sons, and then they end up passing it on. So it's not a one-time shot. The promises that God gives pass from generation to generation. So, okay, I'm sorry. After the sun had set and darkness had deepened, a smoking vessel with a fiery flame passed between the animals. That day, the Lord cut a covenant with Abraham. "To your descendants I give this land, from Egypt's river to the great Euphrates, together with the Kenites, the Kenzites, the Kadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Raphaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites." Okay. Romans 4:13 says, "The promise to Abraham and to his descendants that he would inherit the world didn't come through the law, but through the righteousness that comes from faith." Galatians 3:6 and 7. Understand that in the same way that Abraham believed God and it was credited to him for righteousness, those who believe are the children of Abraham. Hebrews 12:12. Strengthen your drooping hands and weak knees. Make straight paths through your feet, so that if any part is lame, it will be healed, rather than injured more seriously. Pursue the goal of peace along with everyone, and holiness as well, because no one will see the Lord without it. Make sure that no one misses out on God's grace. Make sure that no root of bitterness grows up, that you might cause trouble and pollute people. Make sure that no one becomes sexually immoral or ungodly like Esau. He sold his inheritance to the oldest son for 1 meal. And you know that afterwards he wanted to inherit the blessing. He was rejected because he couldn't find a way to change his heart and life, though he looked for it with tears. That gets into Esau. So now we're going to get to the blessing that he gives here. We're going to go, let's go back to 27. So he came close and kissed him. When Isaac smelled the scent of his clothes, he blessed him. So the scent of my son is like the scent of the field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you showers from the sky, olive oil from the earth, abundance from the earth, plenty of grain and new wine. May the nations serve you. May peoples bow down to you. Be the most powerful man among your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Not just Rebekah's sons, his mother's sons. Isaac had more than one wife. Everybody in the household. Those who curse you will be cursed, and those who bless you will be blessed. Do you remember where that happened before?
Yes, with Abraham.
It happened with Abraham. God's blessing on Abraham. Those who bless you will be blessed. Those who curse you will be cursed. We're going to come up at the end, as we're getting towards the end of Jacob. Laban is coming after Jacob to kill him. And God stops him in a dream and says, do not bless or curse Jacob. God didn't want a blessing on Jacob because then the blessing would go on to Laban. And he didn't want to curse because then Laban would be cursed. He's warning him, don't do either of these things because it's going to come back on you. So that's a very specific blessing in that. Now, okay, let's just keep going through here. We're going to go to 30. Yeah. I'm ahead of myself here. So Isaac finished blessing Jacob, and just as Jacob left his father Isaac, his brother Esau came back from hunting. He too made some delicious food, brought it to his father, and said, let my father sit up and eat from his son's game so that you may bless me. Father says, who are you? I'm your son, your oldest son Esau. Isaac was so shocked that he trembled violently. He said, who was the hunter just here with game? He brought me food, and I ate all of it before you came. I blessed him, and he will stay blessed. Now that is not, I blessed him and I'm not going to take it back. That's, he is blessed and he is going to stay blessed. There is no option to take this blessing back. He has it. There we go. Went to 34. When Esau heard what his father said, he let out a loud, agonizing cry and wept bitterly. He said to his father, bless me. Bless me, bless me. Me too, my father. Isaac said, your brother has already come deceitfully and has taken your blessing. Esau said, isn't this why he's called Jacob? What's Jacob's name? He's an ensnarer. He's a supplanter. He's someone that does this. This is why we called him this. This is who he is. He's taken me twice now. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing. Haven't you saved a blessing for me? You've only got one. Isaac replied to Esau, I've already made him more powerful than you. Listen to that. I have already made him. My blessing has already taken effect in his life. I have already made you more powerful than you, and I've made all of his brothers his servants. I've made him strong with grain and wine. What can I do for you? Esau said to his father, do you really only have one blessing, father? Bless me too, my father. And Esau wept loudly. His father Isaac responded and said to him, all right, we're going to get to his blessing. I have never had this happen before to me. Stop looking around your chair. To me. Half of the translations I looked at say this one way, and the other half say it another way. The King James, the New King James, the Amplified, and a few others all say it this way. Behold, your dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth. This is a New King James. And of the dew of heaven from above. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass when you become restless. King James says dominion. When you have dominion, but the definition of that word is restless. It doesn't mean when you get dominance over. It means when you become restless, you'll break the yoke from his neck. You'll break Jacob's yoke from your neck. So he's saying, in the New King James, they're translating at, your dwelling will be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. That is exactly what he promised Jacob. In his blessing, he said, God will give you the showers from the sky, the olive oil from the earth, plenty of grain and new wine. So that basically, the way these guys are translating it is it's the same thing. I'm giving you the same thing. The way the way that the Common English, there are about 5 other ones translate it, say, you will make a home far away from the olive groves of the earth, far away from the showers of the sky above. So they're translating it that his blessing almost isn't a blessing. Jacob's going to have the fat of the earth. Jacob's going to have the rain. Jacob's going to have everything that flourishes from the ground. You're not. You're not going to have the stuff that comes from the earth and the showers from the sky above. And then the rest of it says the same. You'll live by your sword. You'll serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you'll tear away the harness or the yoke from your neck. I have a tendency to go with this translation that it's away from, because otherwise it's the same portion of the blessing that he gave to Jacob. And that was already given, so he has to give something else. So Jacob is going to basically live off the land. He will have the rain. He will get the substance from the land. He'll get the oil. He'll get the crops. He'll get these things. And Esau, he's making Esau basically what he is. He's a hunter. You're not going to have farming land. You're not going to have rain. You're going to have to go and get your own food. That's how I see it. So now, Esau is furious at Jacob because his father had blessed him. And Esau says, when the period of mourning for the death of my father is over, I will kill my brother. Isaac's not dead yet. He's going to wait until Isaac's dead. He's going to wait for the appropriate mourning period, and then he's going to go kill his brother. Remember, Esau sold him his birthright. But Esau thought, oh, I was just kidding or something. Esau thought, no, I'm still going to get the birthright. Even though I gave it away, I'm still going to get it. Patty and I had a little interesting discussion because we're always talking about why people aren't in church, why the nation, they just don't care. And why did we turn our lives over to Jesus? Turn our lives. Why did we become saved? Why did we become Christians? Most of us out of fear. It's even preached out of fear. The 12 spiritual laws. The 4 spiritual laws. 12 gifts, 12 spiritual, 4 spiritual laws. You are a sinner. You're going to go to hell. Jesus will save you from hell. Confess. Most people come to God out of fear of damnation. Some of us, because we were raised in church and we were raised in proper churches, come to God because we want to be closer to God. We want to serve Him. So if we're here, I'm talking to the choir as always, because we love God and want to press into God and have more of God, we get around people who have God so we can learn more of God and be closer to God and get God. Now, I'm in the world. I don't want to go to hell. Someone approaches me and says, you're not going to go to hell if you believe in Jesus, that He died for you. I believe Jesus died for me. Great, I'm covered. Boom, I'm out of here. That is the majority of people out there. Right now, I firmly believe it. There is no commitment. There is no wanting to have more of God, wanting to have more of what He is. It's their get out of jail free card in their back pocket is what they're using. So this gets in, continuing with the pressing in. Why press in if I don't want a relationship? I just want to get out of jail free card. Why do I want to get closer to God? Why do I need God? I've got everything here in the world. I got all I need. I got my cars. I got my women. I got my food. I got all this stuff. It's all mine. And I got my get out of jail free card in my back pocket. So when I die, I'm not going to hell. Yeah, I sin. Yeah, I have trouble. I can confess. Jesus forgives me. And I'm... So the pressing in part is wanting to be with God. Not double negative, not wanting to go to hell. Wanting a relationship with God. How I got sidetracked on that, I don't remember.
You were
Kill my brother.
talking about that blessing that he sold his birthright.
Right, okay, thank you, the birthright. So Esau had the inheritance, he had the birthright, he had this, and he just gave it away, still thinking, well, my father's not going to give it to Jacob. I'm still the oldest. I'm still going to get it. So that's how I got off track on that little rabbit trail. He wasn't pressing in to his birthright. He wasn't pressing into who he was. He just knew that when it was all over, he was going to get the blessing. Well, it didn't happen that way.
Kind of like us and the Israelites. We're grafted in.
Right. We're grafted. So Esau, back to 41. So Esau was furious with Jacob because his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, when the time of mourning for the death of my father is over, I will kill my brother. Rebekah was told what her older son Esau was planning. Come here, my boy. So Rebekah calls Jacob and says to him, Esau, your brother, is planning revenge. He plans to kill you. So now, my son, listen to me. Get up and escape to my brother Laban in Haran. Live with him for a short while until your brother's rage subsides, until your brother's anger at you goes away and he forgets what you did to him. That ain't going to happen. Then I will send for you and bring you back from there. Why should I suffer the loss of both of you on one day? That was an interesting statement. Rebekah somehow knew she was losing Esau. Esau definitely is going to find out that Rebekah was behind this. So she says, why should I lose both my sons? You go away. He can't kill you. I've lost Esau because of what I've done, because I gave you his birthright. I was complicit in giving you his birthright. So I'm going to lose Esau. He's going to separate himself from me. I don't want you gone too. I don't need you dead. So come back. So Rebekah says, oh, okay, that's where we're going to stop right there. Lose both of you in one day. Because technically, 44 belongs in chapter 28. It doesn't belong at the end of 27. So birthrights are bestowed from the father to the son and to the generations to come. We, as in God, as children of God, impart to our descendants and to our, Patty and I don't have descendants, so that's going to be kind of hard to do, but to your children, these are passed on also. It's our responsibility as parents to pass this on to our children, to pass this legacy of who we are, of who they are in God, what their inheritance in God is. Teach them the right way. Teach them the right paths. And the Bible says when they train them up when they're young, and when they're old, they will not depart. My favorite part of this, it doesn't say anything about what happens in the middle. Nothing. It just says train them up, and when they're old. I am an excellent example. My parents trained me up the best they knew. Church every Sunday. I was an altar boy, the whole thing. I was founded in God and in religion. I went my little merry way. I did my things. I had my fun. Some of you know not all of you know my whole testimony, but drugs, alcohol, you name it, I did it. And now that I'm old, I've come back. And I was thinking that the other day, my oldest brother was supposed to be the priest. He was going to be the priest of the family. He actually started going to seminary. He took a right turn and still hasn't come back. So they were close. It was the youngest who became the priest in a roundabout way. And again, I'm on a side trip of where I was going there. So our inheritance we pass on. And this story, what will happen is the blessing that Jacob received from Isaac is going to follow him through his life. And as we keep going here, Isaac thinks, I'm getting those three names mixed up tonight. Jacob thinks everything he's doing is all in his own power. Everything he's doing is in his own power. And we will come to that point where God meets him, and he still puts the conditions on. If you do this, if you do that, if you do this, if you do that. And this wasn't just a short thing of, oh, well, if you bless me now, you'll be my God. It's if you do this, if you get me home, if you get me here, if you get me. He's talking a long-term plan. If in my whole life you do what I need you to do, then you'll be my God. And that carries back to what's still happening today. If you do this, and if you do this, and if you do this, and if you bless me, and if you bless my children, and my life's a big old rosy paradise, and everything's fine, then when I die, I'll serve you. I'll make you my Lord, and I'll go to heaven. Jacob's going to be a wonderful example of that. So that's going to be it for this. It was kind of a lot of reading of Scripture and not a lot of other things in there, but the two important parts were how the two different translations of that blessing to Esau come out, And that was one of the really, really interesting things. And then the other interesting thing I learned in this is exactly how it passes down. It doesn't stop, it passes down. And this whole sermon by this guy from 1846 is a wonderful sermon to read, but it's real interesting. All right.
One commentator believes that when it says the fat of the land, it means the oil